Well, the world is talking about the Oreshnik missile complex, but what kinds of materials does Oreshnik rely on? What about the temperature? They're as hot as the surface of the sun. The 1980s, we have been working on the loitering device, on the glider. It occurred to our researchers to have these solutions, but we did not have the materials. It was just melting in the air.
Thank you. Colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome the participants of the Third International Future Technologies Forum. As per tradition, it is here, in this audience, that we outline the future frontiers of scientific research. We're discussing ideas that are just becoming crystallized, weighted and nurtured in laboratories and scientific centers, but very soon, and I have no doubt about it, these ideas will reshape the world. The topic of today's forum is chemistry and the use of new materials. These are indeed major cross-cutting areas, and they largely defined the progress of humanity, the implementation of the most ambitious ideas of engineers and designers. Right now, these areas are going through drastic changes, and they in turn lay the foundation and spur on future, even more revolutionary discoveries in healthcare, industry, microelectronics, in creation of unmanned systems, in all spheres with no exception. It is readily apparent that in order to be among the leaders in key areas of scientific and technological development, and that is the task that we're setting for ourselves, we need to achieve, among others, predominance in chemistry and in creation of new materials. That means that we need to offer competitive solutions and products in terms of price and quality, but they must be innovative. We need to have our own unique technological know-how that would allow to produce and export to the global markets not just raw commodities, but the products of the highest standard. I'd like to especially highlight that in our past, we've had experience of solving tasks of the same scale and significance. During the 60s and 70s of the 20th century, largely thanks to the efforts of Leonid Kostandov. Not many people know this name today or remember it, but the specialists, I guess, do know, and they will have reminiscence about him. He used to be the Minister of Chemical Industry of the USSR. Back then, hundreds of cutting-edge plans were launched. Specialized scientific institutions and designer bureaus were created. In terms of total output volume, Soviet chemical industry was ranked #1 in Europe and #2 in the world. However, that heritage was largely squandered. And I say that with great regret. I feel shame about it. I feel shame because so many people gave all their lives to create the chemical industry of the Soviet Union. They were working for the future generations. They spent their days and nights in their offices, and they used to live also in harsh conditions, in train cars, moving around the whole territory of the Soviet Union from one republic to another. They didn't have enough sleep or food, but they were creating the chemical industry of the USSR. Unfortunately, after the dissipation of the Soviet Union, crucial production was discontinued. Production facilities were simply destroyed. The equipment was taken out for scrap metal. Along with deterioration of our own chemical industry, we fell into strong external dependence, and we've lost a significant part of our industrial and technological sovereignty. Therefore, we know through our own negative experience what kind of systemic issues stem from vulnerability in the sphere of chemistry. In essence, we literally had to reconfigure anew many technological and production chains, build new enterprises to produce independently deep conversion products. For example, in Tumensk region, Tobolsk petrochemical plant became the foundation for new capacity. And in 2019, a modern petrochemical plant, Zapsibneftechim, was launched. Underway is the construction of Amur gas chemical facility, as well as other enterprises that will help in the nearest future significantly increase the production of polymers, the key product of petrochemicals and gas chemistry. I'd like to add that after cleanup and remediation of the territory of Ussolye-Sibirsk in the Irkutsk region is slated to host a breakthrough federal center of fine chemistry. For those who might not know that, who are not experts in this sphere, I can say that we're talking about the production of small volumes, however necessary volumes of specialized chemical products, resins, solvents that are similarly crucial for the development of microelectronics, pharmaceuticals, and many other critically important spheres. Another cross-cutting area is catalysts, that is the foundation of chemistry. Substances that define the speed of reaction. It's important to ensure not only the development, but further testing, pilot production, followed by wide industrial use, as well as scaling up of domestic solutions. To support such projects, the famous Oreshnik Institute of Catalysis in Novosibirsk is becoming a special scientific and technological cluster. It's an important step towards the development of all-Siberian scientific cluster as one of the key centers for the creation of technologies of the future in chemistry. Colleagues, in order not to fall behind the pace of progress in global competition, we need to significantly increase the potential of Russian chemical industry and adjacent sectors. We need to build the full cycle, starting with the exploration development of new deposits, including rare and rare earth metals, production and deep conversion of mineral resources, ending with the production of high-tech products with high added value. We have something to work on here. In essence, we have all the necessary components. We simply need to set the tasks and provide the conditions for businesses and invest in infrastructure. We still do not produce lithium in Russia, and we cannot develop without it. It is apparent for the specialists here. And we can. We could have done it a decade or 15 years ago. We need to solve these tasks using the principled new technological level, using achievements in AI and robotics, other tools aimed at increasing the productivity of labor. In science as well, our serious advantage here is an accessible and affordable energy. We have one of the largest grids of nuclear hydrothermal power plants. That allows us to build factories in many regions of our country, and naturally we need to do that with respecting the most stringent environmental norms, using modern, environmentally friendly solutions. The spheres that I'm mentioning here are complex and of utmost importance. Therefore, in the sphere of new materials and chemistry, this year we've launched a new national project of technological leadership. The federal budget alone for the implementation from 2025 till 2030 earmarks about 170 billion rubles. Simultaneously, the investments of the companies of the real sector in the economy might stand at about 1 trillion rubles, and I think that's very realistic. I've talked to the owners and leaders of the companies, and they have very ambitious plans. I like this sentiment. We'll support them in their strive, and we'll fine-tune the mechanisms of supporting of private investment, including in R&D. I've mentioned many times that external issues and sanctions, with all the challenges and complexities for us, have played an important role of an incentive. Russian companies now turn more and more often to our scientists, and they receive the consultations from them. And it turns out that the domestic solutions quite often become more effective and efficient than international counterparts. In order to ensure a modern legal framework for cooperation between researchers and qualified clients, we've adopted a law on technological policy. It will enter into force in the summer of this year. I have already mentioned, and I have set this task, that together with the business community, we need to increase the funding of science up to 2% of GDP. It is crucial that we send all the additional resources for the support of promising, disruptive areas of scientific and technological development. For example, in chemistry and new materials, it would be rather myopic and erroneous to be satisfied with simply substituting the technological processes that have already been explored somewhere abroad. It is naturally quite important. We need to keep in mind all the achievements and to make use of them, but we need to develop our own platforms. Right now, we're looking at the exhibition. My colleagues promised me that they will show me our progress. As we have agreed, in December last year, during the Council for Strategic Development National Projects, we need to shape plans in key dimensions that will ensure the predominance of the country in chemistry and modern material sciences as well. It's important to define the lead scientific organizations that will take on the responsibility for conducting fundamental research, companies that are to introduce the technologies of the future and fine-tune the talent training in chemistry for the tasks of technological leadership at all educational levels, starting with school and ending with universities. Unfortunately, the number of chemistry teachers in school is going down, and the number of students who are choosing chemistry as their major is going down as well. As for the number of chemistry teachers who are older than 65 is increasing. We need at what's happening in universities and institutions. I would like to ask you for maximum engagement. The Russian Academy of Sciences, entrepreneurs, professional, scientific, and educational community. It's important that you continue to act in concert as true partners, and you to be aware of responsibility for results. The implementation of all national projects of technological development hinge on that. Our plans to develop Siberia, the Arctic, and the Far East, all regions of the country, and naturally solving the tasks in security and improving the quality of life of people. Security is a thing of its own. I have already spoken publicly about it. The whole world is talking about Oreshnik missile. What is it made of? The temperature on the payload is about the temperature of on the surface of the sun. We have to be conscious of that. Starting with the 1980s, some gliding block technologies were being developed. It's called Vanguard today. It has comparable temperatures on the warhead, a bit less than the surface of the sun. We were thinking about that back in the 80s, but it couldn't be done because there were no materials for it. That was the issue. It's flying and it's melting like ice cream. But this signal for homing is still coming through. That's the result of materialist science. Back in the day, for no apparent reason, our joint agreements on MS 21300, all the opportunities were closed down for wind. Yes, we had to postpone the project, but still we developed our own wind technologies with our own heads and minds, and we need to do that in all other dimensions as well, and to work constructively together. I'd like to ask the government to think about the way we could regulate the interaction between our enterprises and enterprises of our competitors in order to ensure certain advantages for our national producers. Yes, as part of the WTO system, but still, certain hindrances were created for us, and so we can regulate that for those who would like to come back to our markets, creating the advantages for our own producers. We need to do that fine-tune that, but it needs to be done. I see that Minister Mantrov is here and in agreement. He's not in agreement. Well, we've spoken about it, just like in agriculture. And agri-producers were begging us, don't let anyone in our market. We'll do it all ourselves, except for bananas, naturally. But now they're producing bananas as well. A bit costly, but still. But as for industrial production, we need to think it through and treat it with great attention, not to lose the potential that has been created by our ill-wishers who introduced sanctions against us. I have already mentioned it, but I would like to give a few other examples in order to develop machine engineering and aviation production, missile and space program. We need composite materials and alloys with unique characteristics. I've just mentioned it. Plant protection, a different sphere, in order to solve the tasks of food security, durable, safe systems for transfer and storage of energy, for UAVs, for new means of transportation, more durable and energy-efficient materials for construction sphere, in order to adapt for climate change, new compounds, biomaterials, and prototypes of organs and tissues of human, in order to introduce breakthrough treatment methods in healthcare. I'd repeat myself that I've just outlined some specific directions. However, the lack of results even in a single one of them, and I'd like to highlight that specifically, would create a domino effect and will drag down all other national projects. I've given you an example of MS-21-300. We had no materials for the fuselage and for the body and the wings, and the whole project was stuck. The same applies to other spheres as well. We've seen it all with our own eyes. That is the experience of our work in the past 2-3 years. As for all key technological spheres, we need to build comprehensive coordination and natural interconnectedness of all of our steps and measures. And I suggest that we ensure a higher level mechanism for steering technological development. I'd like to ask the government to propose the necessary governance ideas. Colleagues, all our plans to create the solutions for the future in chemistry, material sciences are based on tremendous potential of our scientific and engineering schools. Their traditions were laid back in the Russian Empire. I spoke about the Soviet Union, but the traditions were created in the Russian Empire in the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, and they were developed in the Soviet times as well. As I have just said, I'm sure that Mikhail Kovalchuk, we have just met with him and had some words, and other participants of the plenary session will tell you about how today the achievements in chemistry and material sciences are multiplying that were received back in the time of a space and nuclear project. Other research for the energy of the future of thermonuclear fusion, spearheaded by Yevgeny Velikhov, and I believe it's necessary to dedicate to the memory of this outstanding thinker and citizen the new grant contest by Russian Scientific Foundation for Leading Scientists. The grant for 5 years will range from 250 million rubles up to 500,000 million rubles. The largest domestic companies will co-finance these grants or be direct clients of disruptive technologies. As for support spheres, they will change annually. This year, I suggest to dedicate this contest to creation of unique materials and products thereof for autonomous sources of energy, propulsion and energy units, as well as for devices and systems for processing of information necessary for development of artificial intelligence as well. It is absolutely apparent that this technology is defining the development of all spheres, and is producing a real revolution in chemistry and material science as well. Through introducing artificial intelligence and computer modeling, our country needs, and it's quite realistic, to cut down to 5 to 10 years and in the future to 2 or 3 years the timeline for developing and introducing of new materials. For that, the researchers, engineers should have the necessary data bank about the existing materials and their components. I suggest we build a mechanism for regulation of operations with them, including collection, storage, processing, transfer, and the use of them. I'd like to add that tremendous body of data, breakthrough knowledge about new elements and materials will be received during the research at domestic installations of mega science class. They allow us to study the matter literally at the level of atoms. I'd like to highlight specifically that some facilities in our country, for example, Nika in Dubna or PIK in Leningrad region, are unique, unparalleled. In the nearest future, we plan to conduct the technological launch of yet another powerful installation called SCIF. It will significantly increase the functionality and range of possibilities of Russian research infrastructure. Naturally, we'd like to invite international scientists to work together as well. Leningrad region, where I've traveled several years ago, was the place for work of specialists from Europe, from those countries where the use of nuclear energy was rolled back. Therefore, they rolled back the research in that sphere as well. Here, they were quite happy to work in Russia, and we hope that that will continue. Our door is always open. We're always happy to welcome our friends and colleagues. I'd like to highlight that we understand fully well that open and transparent, equal exchange of information in scientific sphere is one of key factors for strengthening multipolar world. We'll continue to facilitate bringing together efforts of researchers and engineers from the East and the South in order to solve large-scale experimental, theoretical, and naturally practical tasks. BRICS is already a platform for social, economic development and technological development of the global level. We do not intend to install barriers for a partnership with the Western scientists, and we hope that the Western politicians will understand how detrimental such actions of limitation in cooperation in science and education is. It's important that the global development is just and well-balanced. Therefore, we need to ensure further industrial technological progress while decreasing the negative impact for the environment, maintaining the fragile ecosystem of the planet, its fauna and flora. Naturally, we'll take a look at the need to introduce such technologies. In the center of special attention today are breakthrough solutions in genetics, bio and natural-like technologies, as well as creation of materials that mimic the processes in live systems. Overall, we're talking about the shape of a principled new phenomenon, a new reality, bioeconomics. This topic is crucial and key from the point of view of global growth and its quality. I suggest that we dedicate the next Future Technology Forum to the matters of bioeconomy, naturally if colleagues believe it possible and interesting. We'd like to invite all scientists, educational community and business community from around the world. We are prepared to cooperate. Friends, I'm very happy that our country is a place for a frank and meaningful discussion of scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs. That testifies to the transparency of Russia and our special attention to the matters of scientific and technological development. I don't think that any expert would take it upon himself to forecast the new solutions that will be discovered and invented even in the nearest future. However, there is something that we can do, and we can do it for sure. That is to ensure our efficient support for key technological areas that are especially crucial and useful for the citizens, for society, for economic growth. It is in this direction we intend to work. And I'm quite sure that that's the tone for your discussion today. Thank you.
Don't miss out. Log on to oneindia.com for more updates.